the wood-paneled sanctum of Courtroom, 4B was a place where tradition usually met justice. Thayer, a brilliant constitutional scholar, stood at the petitioner's podium. He was dressed in a pristine deep navy tailored three-piece suit, holding a deep navy leather portfolio containing a federal mandate. Judge Bancroft, a man who viewed his bench as a throne and the law as his personal whim, leaned forward. He wore his black judicial robes, but the bold red silk shirt peeking from his collar signaled his aggressive temperament. Beside him was Gemma, his law clerk, her face twisted in a smug smirk as she shuffled red border files. Bancroft's face contorted into a realistic, unmasked expression of aggressive rage when Thayer cited a precedent that challenged the judge's previous ruling. Bancroft viewed Thayer's intellect as a threat to his authority. His nostrils flared, and a pulsing vein began to throb in his neck as he slammed his gavel down so hard the wood splintered. I don't need a history lesson from a street-level attorney who doesn't know his place in my court. Bancroft roared, "I am citing the 14th Amendment, Your Honor. It applies even in this circuit." Thayer replied, his voice a calm, lethal deep navy resonance. He stepped back defensively as Bancroft stood up, towering over the bench. Bancroft's aggression turned physical, breaking every canon of judicial conduct. He lunged over the low mahogany bench and delivered a heavy-handed, aggressive shove to Thayer's chest, slamming the lawyer back against a heavy wooden bar that separated the gallery from the counsel tables. "You're in contempt of my existence." Bancroft snarled, his face showing anatomical micro-expressions of fury, his brow furrowed into deep ridges and his eyes widening in anger. In a display of unchecked malice, Bancroft grabbed Thayer's legal brief from the podium and violently ripped the pages out, throwing the shredded law into Thayer's face. Bancroft then reached over and grabbed Thayer by the lapel of his deep navy suit, pinning him against a railing, while Gemma laughed, signaling the bailiff to prep the holding cell. The witnesses, Sterling and Maya, sat in the front row, their phones raised to capture the raw, unmasked fury on Bancroft's face as he physically manhandled the attorney. "I'm going to ensure you're disbarred and jailed by noon," Bancroft hissed, his nostrils flaring. Thayer looked at the hand on his lapel, then at the yellow case smartphone vibrantly buzzing on the table. "Bancroft," he whispered, "you should have checked the federal wire. I'm not here to argue a case. I'm here to serve your removal notice. I was sworn into the Supreme Court an hour ago. The hallowed, wood-paneled silence of Courtroom will be shattered under the weight of Bancroft's unhinged physical assault." He maintained his physical pin, his thick fingers white-knuckled as they twisted the deep navy wool lapel of Thayer's three-piece suit, shoving the attorney back against a heavy mahogany bar with a force that caused the wood to groan. Bancroft's unmasked face was a portrait of pure, unchecked aggressive rage. The veins in his neck pulsed with a violent, rhythmic throb that mocked the dignity of his office. His nostrils flared with every hot, jagged breath of fury, and the uneven skin texture on his forehead glistened under the courtroom's high vaulted lights. Gemma stood by the judge's bench, her bold red blazer ajar in alarm against the dark wood, her face twisted in a smug, elitist sneer as she prepared the contempt of court paperwork that would end Thayer's career. "You thought you could walk into my sanctuary and dictate the law to me?" Bancroft hissed, his face contorting with anatomical micro-expressions of fury, his brow furrowed into deep ridges and his eyes widening in anger until the whites were visible in a terrifying, predatory glare. "I am the final word in this district, and I am deciding your legal career ends in a prison cell." He exerted more pressure, slamming Thayer's shoulders back against the bar with another aggressive shove that sent Thayer's gold luxury watch sliding across the counsel table. Thayer remained perfectly composed, his eyes burning with a calm, lethal deep navy fire. With a slow, deliberate motion, he reached into the pocket of his deep navy waistcoat and pulled out a gold-sealed federal mandate. He didn't call for a bailiff. He tapped a single command on his yellow case master smartphone, triggering a supreme override of the courthouse's closed-circuit broadcast system. "Bancroft," Thayer said, his voice dropping into a low, vibrating frequency that seemed to shake the very foundation of the bench. "You spent so much time playing God in this courtroom that you forgot there's a higher power in the Constitution. And today, that power is me." Suddenly, the massive 80-inch digital evidence monitors mounted on the courtroom walls and every television in the federal building flickered to a solid royal blue. A second later, they roared to life with a bold, extreme close-up video of the current interaction. The entire State Bar Association and the Department of Justice watched in stunned horror as the screens displayed Bancroft's snarling face and anatomical micro-expressions of fury as he physically assaulted the man who had been confirmed by the Senate as the newest Supreme Court justice just 60 minutes prior. Bancroft's grip on the deep navy lapel went limp. His face turned a sickly, translucent shade of gray as he looked at the screens and saw his own professional obituary being broadcast in 4K. The mottled red patches on his skin faded into a hollow, trembling mass of terror as the realization hit. He hadn't just bullied a street-level lawyer. He had assaulted a sitting justice of the Supreme Court. The heavy double doors of the courtroom burst open, and a phalanx of Federal Marshals in deep Navy tactical gear, with yellow U.S. Marshal lettering, swarmed the floor. Sterling in his gold silk blazer and Maya in her silver designer dress stepped forward from the gallery, their phones broadcasting the total liquidation of Bancroft's legacy to every legal news outlet in the country. Bancroft and Gemma, the lead marshal announced, his voice echoing like a final judgment. By order of the Supreme Court of the United States and the Judicial Conduct Commission, you are summarily removed from the bench. Your judicial immunity is waived for the investigation of felony assault on a federal officer. Thayer stood up, straightening his deep navy suit and retrieving his gold luxury watch. He stepped into Bancroft's personal space. You told me I didn't know my place in your court, Bancroft. The truth is, your place is now on the other side of the bars. Your justice debt begins with an immediate eviction from this bench. Garrett, in a state of aggressive panic, tried to stammer out a plea, reaching out to grab Kellen's arm. He was instantly intercepted. Two security officers firmly grabbed Garrett by his arms, twisting him behind his back in a brutal, bone-deep lock. They forced him to his knees on the white marble floor, right on top of the documents he had scattered. Bianca was grabbed by her bold red-trimmed dress and forced down beside him. "Liquidate their credentials," Kellen commanded. The security team ripped the executive ID badges from their chests and snatched the silver headset from Bianca's ear, tossing them into a green biohazard bin. They physically dragged Garrett and Bianca to the center of the R&D floor, their shoes squeaking on the marble as the engineers and lab techs gathered to jeer and film the disgrace. They were dragged out the main lobby and left on the sidewalk in front of a waiting swarm of paparazzi. Kellen looked at the chief legal officer. "Reboot the servers. I want a new culture in this building by morning. One where the smartest person in the room is the one who treats others with respect, not the one in the loudest suit." He checked his gold watch. "And make sure Garrett's office is cleared out by noon. I think I'll turn it into a break room for the interns." The power was destroyed. The truth was revealed, and the villain was liquidated.